So I just read Angron, Slave of Nuceria by Ian St. Martin, and damn was I pleasantly surprised. This book is about the World Eaters, so naturally I was expecting some boulder porn, oonga boonga, let's smash some heretics, space marine nonsense, but in actuality this book turned out to be pretty amazing. The book tells the story of the World Eaters during the scouring of Genna, and mainly the events that led to the implementation of the nails into every member of the Legion, such as the failed experiments, the implementation of new archaeotech, and the rebellion against the implementation of these, well, torture devices. Furthermore, the other part of the book shows the history of Angron as a gladiator slave on Nuceria through a series of flashbacks. First of all, the book shows the history of the Primarch, which is something I always like to see in these novels. But what truly sets it apart is the way that it was handled. Through a very effective selection of moments from Angron's past, we get to see a very tragic story of what could have been. Angron as a hero, rather than the monster he currently is, preceded by all the horrible events which turned him into what he is during the Heresy. The writing style here is also superb. It truly feels as if you're there with him, and you get to share in his suffering. This writing style also proved to be great during the other part of the book, as the author really managed to convey the fear of the World Eaters and the Primarch through some unconventional writing choices. The most prominent example being pages completely covered in blood, rather than a description of the situation after a certain, well, important event. This may seem a bit over the top, but trust me, with the build up it was definitely worth it. Most other elements were a little bit less over the top, of course. Another great thing about this novel is that it creates a believable scenario of why the Legion accepted and even wanted the Butcher's Nails. Furthermore, we also get to see a part of the Legion that doesn't agree, and it wants to try to convince the rest to stop this madness. The book also shows the difference between the Warhounds of old and the World Eaters after the discovery of Angron, a contrast which flows into and complements this discussion rather nicely. The only problem I really have with this novel is that some story elements seem a bit out of place. There are certain named characters that we see a glimpse of without them really contributing anything to the story, and the fact that we see Angron's memories through the eyes of a psyker that's reading his mind also didn't really contribute much to the story. Finally, the ending and the epilogue were both great as well. The epilogue perfectly shows how far the World Eaters will eventually fall during the Heresy, and the ending was quite an exciting plot twist. Although if you've read Betrayer by ADB, you probably already know what will happen here. I should also mention that people have pointed out to me that this book works rather well as a prologue to Betrayer, so if you're planning on reading that, you might want to read this first. All in all, I'm giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. It's a heartbreaking, clever story that manages to make one of the weirdest legions out of 40k believable. This is a must-read for any 40k fan, and especially for those interested in Chaos and the World Eaters. Then for the tier list, and yet again I'm struggling with this. Some people would dislike this novel because they would have liked to see some more previously unknown lore, and for them this book will probably be below the Alpharius novel, as the book doesn't really cover as much of Angron's past as some people probably would have wanted. On the other hand, I think it's more important that the story of the Primarchs feels like a believable and interesting story with proper attention dedicated to the emotional moments that shaped them, rather than that we just get to see every little detail about their past in textbook fashion. So that's why I'm placing this one above the Perturabo novel, as this one manages to convey not just what happened, but also the emotions that came along with it better than the Perturabo novel. But really, I don't have any conviction about the order of these three, to be honest. If you say they should be ordered completely differently, I'm not gonna fight you on that.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing and click ringing the bell to appease the Great Horned Rat. For more lore content, please check my main channel and leave any book recommendations in the comments down below. I gotta get back to reading the next book.